Hello and welcome. I'm Joshua and today we are looking at something maybe you don't even know about yet. Pseudomorph agates from China. These are pretty unsuspecting, in all honesty. From the outside you don't even see much at all, and not many people know about pseudomorph agates from China. Because there's many other localities that are just so much more known than the Chinese agates for pseudomorphs. Chinese agates are mostly known for their very round shape of nodules, and with that just gorgeous symmetry in the specimens, but also just mind-blowingly good colors. That's why maybe the pseudomorph agates are just not having this, very well-known rank of being known as pseudomorphs, because first to your mind, of course, Koyamido agates from Mexico, or agates from Turkey, or even Bulgaria. There's plenty of other localities that produce good pseudomorph agates, but I think the Chinese agates are actually up there being very close to the top. So I think let's just get started. Look at these specimens. From the outside, there's almost not a single specimen where you would make the guess that there's a pseudomorph inside, and that's because the backsides are so dark and there's no cutoff at the end or no chips. It is absolutely impossible to say where the pseudomorphs may be going. So analyzing this sort of rough, I don't think you really have the chance to cut for a pseudomorph, which makes it even more incredible because all of these then have to be like random lucky cuts in order to hit the pseudomorphs just the way they are. With Koyamido agates or Turkish agates, you often see the pseudomorph origin from the outside of the specimen, so you have a much easier time determining in which angle you want to cut it, which most of the time I think pseudomorphs cut the best in two ways. First one is of course through the very origin of the pseudomorph, so you cut right through the center point of the crystallization. The other way is just to cut it in a 90-degree angle to that, in order to, instead of get the pseudomorph grow, you will get the eyes in the specimen. Let's get started with the first piece, also because the pseudomorph agates from China, they can have different appearances. Some of them, they have this aragonite looking pseudomorph spray, some of them are formed after calcite, and in this first piece it is like a little bit of a mix. So these look pretty blocky as a pseudomorph, so these are not like fine needles or like more distinct like finger shaped, but more like a concrete block that like is pretty well built. But really cool pseudomorph in this specimen. Also, what's very unique about this specific piece is that it has great parallel expanding, which is another extremely rare feature for any Chinese agates. Some of these are pairs, some of these are singles, just because the other half is not any good, or sometimes I've just been picking the beta half for the video. Some of these are already on my website, like this one for example. It may be sold by the time that the video is coming out. Others may be available right now, and others of these may be available in the future. Next one up is this super nice contrasting specimen. Beautiful, almost golden color pseudomorph after aragonite. I feel like this has a much more distinct crystallization point at the bottom, where you can really see this is where the center spray came out and formed the pseudomorph, and then surrounded by light blue agate, just creating the finest contrast possible, with this burgundy red agate banding up top. Wonderful specimen right here, just incredible piece. The other half of this piece is actually also, well, available at the time right now, but I only put this one half in the video. Next one up, I put the pair in, just because I think both of these are just fabulous. Another one, a little bit similar specimen in terms of the colors, with the red color, a little bit of the blue color as well surrounding the pseudomorph. Same beautiful crystallization point at the bottom. Up top here, it additional has also this carbonate spherulites, which form this really aesthetic pattern in this specimen. Just a wonderful pair right here. Next one up, I think, has to be one of the coolest pieces of this entire batch, honestly. Just the perfectly cut pseudomorph specimen, perfectly in the center of the nodule, and I don't even know how it was possible to cut this piece, because usually the pseudomorphs form at the outside of a crystal, because they need to have something to grow around and spark the explosion, to be talking in literal way of trying to understand it. But in this piece, it seems like the halves are perfectly even split, so I think it was probably like maybe like a shape like this, where the pseudomorph has been growing around, and then you can just see the spray at the top and the bottom of this specimen. But it's just an absolute perfect hit. Like, it could not have grown any more perfect in the center and any more beautiful. Next one up is probably after just calcite or barite crystals. Also, these are not specifically exactly what you would understand when talking about pseudomorphs, and that is also because these specimens have sometimes, or in most cases, I would say, the original, not just the original structure, but also the original material, and the agate has just been going around it instead of like replacing it. Like in some cases, they're partially replaced. Like in a lot of Koyamido agates, you will see that some of the banding is replaced with agate, but they sometimes have a hollow stem. If it's like hollow, it's a perimorph because it's been weathered out from the original pseudomorph. And here, I'm not exactly sure what you will call this, but the original crystals are still embedded in the agate. In this case, they have just been like really weirdly been growing in these plates. And if you look very closely, these chambers in between also remind a little bit of polyhedroid agates. And that's also the theory to talk about polyhedroids on how they have formed. And maybe you want to check out my video about polyhedroid agates and how they formed that I published some time ago, a few months back. And this agate actually pretty perfectly shows how these sheets of barite in different angles may have created the voids in order for the agate to be there, and then later the barite just dissolved, leaving the shape of the agate behind. Next one up is another really cool specimen. Beautiful colors, beautiful shape of the pseudomorph. It looks like a partial replacement, partially calcite, partially carbonate, and the agate just beautifully growing around these. Also, what is very surprising about these pseudomorph specimens right here is they are tremendously large in size. Like this is probably like 2.5 inches, and that's just about the regular size you will find of Chinese agates. But there are so many pieces that you see back here that will be 3 inches, 4 inches, and even 5 inches, which is something you don't really get to see for Chinese agates very often. So I wonder if there's just some incidence that this is just some of the best large pseudomorph pieces that there actually are, or if there's also just a higher likelihood for these pseudomorphs to form in larger nodules. That's just something I have in my mind right now, but I am not able to respond to my own question here. Next one up is just another such aesthetic piece. Beautiful pseudomorph sprays, such a moody specimen with these dark colors and just a star explosion. Perfectly, just I could not have drawn this piece better than it is. So nature is really just wonderful. Next piece is actually a pretty interesting one that I want to show you. This half is the first half of the specimen, and I'm just going to show you the other half right now. And that's also why I want to show you that it is crucial to try to hit the pseudomorph as center as possible. I don't know if there was a specific break or what has been going on in the specimen, but it looks like there is something missing in between the specimen like this, because the other half looks like it's almost cut perfectly in the center of the pseudomorph, but the other half has been missed. And maybe the person who cut it first cut it like this and then placed a recut later at an angle like this in order to hit the pseudomorph perfectly. I bought these specimens directly from China, so I did not do the cutting on this. But if you have the chance to cut a pseudomorph, the angle of cutting the pseudomorph is crucial, because you can see the second half that I just been showing is so much nicer in terms of the crystal growth than the first one, just because it's so much more organized and you can see the exact structure of the crystalline growth in this nodule. Next one up is another rather wild specimen, but with another bally growth of the pseudomorph down there. Beautiful druzy with a little bit of amethyst. Then here we have a carbonate inclusion again, which is shining silver if you hold it in the light. So it seems to have a very high iron content. So another just very beautiful and also large sized specimen right here. Next one up is another just perfectly grown pseudomorph, and I would say it's probably the most perfect specimen we have so far. Just exceptionally perfectly hit with the pseudomorph at the center, large size piece, and just displaying exactly how a pseudomorph should be looking like. So this is definitely a higher end piece, and this is just a huge size piece I think one of the largest Chinese agates I've actually ever had. It's super wide. I think this one may be a little bit larger from the circumference, but this one seems to have a different pseudomorph spray. So not just like from a single crystallization point where the pseudomorph grew around it, but more like a fan kind of spray from the side. And yeah, really interesting piece where you can see the agate formed like in between of the crystals, and I think it's also already been partially replaced by quartz. So really super interesting specimen and just huge in size here as well. The next one I already have on my website. It may be sold by now, I'm not sure about it. But this is just up there with one of the most beautiful pseudomorph agates I've had from China. Beautiful red color, beautiful floater, and just perfectly hit pseudomorph in the center. Just a super, super unique specimen. And then the two last pieces are two of the biggest, and this is another just absolutely perfect piece. These are museum specimens with these pseudomorphs, and they don't have to hide anywhere in terms of any other pseudomorphs that are found in the entire world. Just gorgeous colors. Even in the tiny little druzy, you can see there's more crystallized calcite crystals, and the spray is just perfectly hit. Just a wonderful specimen. The last one is another just incredible piece. I think honestly it's the largest Chinese agate pseudomorph that I've ever seen. It's just huge in size. It's just spraying across all the entire agate. It is a massive piece with partial agatization in the center of the pseudomorph, and just an incredible specimen. That's it for today. I hope you really enjoyed to see these pseudomorph agates from a place that you don't regularly see. I think during the video we also show you, or maybe just at the end now, a pseudomorph agate maybe from the Cuamido Ranch, which has this famous finger spray that we've been showing in a previous video before, or maybe some other examples of pseudomorph agates at another time. So I hope you had the chance to compare and see how different these pseudomorphs actually can be. But I think the Chinese agates are definitely underrated and up there at the very top of the most beautiful pseudomorph agates in the entire world. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel if you've not done that yet, and you can get these specimens, or at least a fair amount of these specimens, right now for your own collections. If you would like to give them a new home, there's a 20% discount if you buy at least 10 specimens at once, and that's also the case for pieces that have already been reduced in the sales section of my website. That's it from me, and goodbye.